Havoc, and this is Factorio Space Exploration Plus. And we are back again looking at what we can do to make advancements. I went around and expanded our buffer zone yet again. We have space where we're not going to be bothered by the biters for a little bit. I mean, they are over here and they're down here. If they expand down here, I left them a little present that will find their bases and exterminate them. But we're going to focus on practicing, learning, developing things. So over here, I have been buffering stuff like sand, I've been buffering glass, and I want to figure out how do we get a full blue belts of, say, glass. And in order to get a full blue belt of glass, I'm going to need a lot of sand. Now, if you look at the crafting recipe for glass, it takes 4 sand and it makes 1 glass. So logic would say 4 blue belts of sand will make 1 blue belt of glass. However, we are using productivity modules, which add productivity, which means we don't need the full 4 blue belts worth of sand to get the full blue belt of glass out. But what I want to do is play around with that. Also, I've been working with this setup. It seems to be that 4 pulverizers will produce a full blue belt of sand out because they produce 3 sand per 1 stone in half a second, plus productivity. And when you ramp those up with speed modules from beacons, this is more than enough. 4, and you side load on the inside of the belt like so right here in order to get that being output on both sides of the belt, and you get a full blue belt out. So if I wanted to, say, try it with 4 of these, I know that I can get 4 blue belts out from 4, 8, 16 pulverizers. The only question then is how much stone has to come in. Can I run 1 blue belt of stone down the middle and just have 16 pulverizers? Or is that not enough? So I want to test that theory right now. And I can't do it over here because if I start consuming this, I won't get a full blue belt out. However, I know somewhere where we stored an absolute ton of stone. And I can guarantee a consistent full blue belts output, which means I can play around and test and see what's going to get us the correct amount of sand out. So I have already prepared, that's only 10, okay? Let's ask for a few more of those. I said we needed 4, 8, 16, so I'll just ask for 20 and we'll have a few extra. We're going to need modules and beacons, which we have, belt, and fast inserters. Looks like everything is good to go as soon as they bring me the pulverizers. And we can head right up here to our setup where we stored a lot of stone. Now, I would like to use equally from all 3 of these, so we will move that and set this up so that we're going to get a full blue belt out of each of these, and then merge them all together to make sure that we get uninterrupted flow that is also balanced. I'm going to do that the proper way. If we come into here and go back to 3 to 1, 3 to 1 balancer, and that will properly balance this. I don't have any robots. That's okay. I was trying to figure out for a split second. Wait a minute. I don't have any robo ports or robots on me right at this minute. We'll just hand place it. It's not the end of the world. This is going to be one continuous blue belt output of stone. As soon as I place those over here. Perfect. And it's balanced between all three of these. So what I want to do now is put down our pulverizers. We said 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're just doing some testing because I honestly could not tell you what will end up working and what won't just yet. I haven't figured it out, but that's why we are here right now. And it looks like I can get away with using 3 beacons for this, because I can hit 3 of them. I don't know if I want to do that though. I want to make this a easily tileable build, so we'll put them all in the same spots in order to maintain that and some symmetry. Now we need power. I'll do the same thing here. There's going to be some overlap, but again, I want it to look good as well as function. So now I only want to underground the bits that absolutely have to be underground. I want to see as much belt as possible so that I can tell whether or not we're getting good throughput in here or if we are starving the belt. And we are going to use stack inserters. This will also be a good indicator. I don't know that you need stack inserters. These are probably going to be sitting around and waiting for a long time because 1 stone will produce 3 sand. Now we're going to do the same thing over here. These will most certainly need these stack inserters to output. Now because these machines are so big, our power doesn't reach on that side, but it will down on the other side. That's the problem with a 2x2 and everything else is odd. This one is the only even structure in the build. So we will have to come up with a creative means to power the output inserters here. It seems kind of wasteful. There are better solutions further into this mod pack, I guess you could call it. It's a group of mods. It's just not a mod pack in the sense of what people are used to. A very curated build. I have a lot of different mods in here, so I don't know if you can consider this to be very curated. But this setup is going to make us sand. And we need to stop that in order to get a good idea of whether or not this is actually going to make the correct output amounts. It'll be hard to tell if it's already primed. And I'm trying to make this as asymmetrical as possible. There we go. Now I just need to pick all of that up off the line after it's done. And we still didn't power this. How much sand do you have? And let's empty the belt here that it's just going to keep grabbing off of. Okay. This should give us 4 full blue belts output of sand when we finish this. And then we can take these and figure out what kind of setup we need for the glass. It takes 4 sand to make 1, but it also takes a lot longer than other items. So our furnace setup that we have right down here, this setup works and it outputs a full blue belt, and these last furnaces barely run every now and then. However, those recipes take 3.2 seconds to craft and only 1 item in that 3.2 seconds. Whereas our glass is taking 4 items and a full 4 seconds. So this setup may not work for us for the glass. We're going to grab this up until here. This is where things are going to get different as well, because what we need is to make sure that we are getting the correct input amount. And what I think I'm going to do here is we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are 11. So it's not an even number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I'll probably do is something along the lines of this. And the reason we're doing this is these are going to require a lot of sand. So this is going to be one dedicated line of sand. And this will be another dedicated line of sand. We'll do the same thing on this side and see if that actually produces a full blue belt out, or if we're still not providing enough sand for them. And then I need this to come down here and go into a storage warehouse so that it doesn't back up. I need it to flow constantly so I can get a good reading on this. And I also need to change it from copper to glass. But what I'm hoping is when we fire this up, we'll see exactly what we're wanting to see. We need to change this recipe to glass. The bots are chasing me. Don't mind me. You know, I'm just trying to do stuff. Poor things. Alright, I don't want to start anything flowing yet because I don't want it to back up. If it buffers a bunch in the machines, it's really hard to tell whether it's actually moving at the throughput you're looking for, or if it's just because you had 100 sitting in the inventory of the machine beforehand. So I'm trying to get it bled lines, not primed, and then we will start as soon as everything is set up and see if we're actually going to get a full blue belts of glass out. Because what I'm looking at is the fact that we need 10 glass per every low density structure. Now a full blue belt is 45 items a second. 45 glass a second means that I can produce 4.5 low density structures a second. And that sounds like nothing. It really sounds like nothing. We use so many low density structures for the space items right now. But I want you to think about the fact that we're not even producing that many right now. I'm very slowly producing them. I want to ramp that up. I want the ability to produce probably 10, maybe 15 a second of the low density structures and buffer them in some warehouses. So I'm going to need a lot of glass, a lot of copper, a lot of steel, and a lot of plastic. And we're going to be working towards each of those things in their own time. Are we moduled up yet? We're waiting on just a few. I have, however, put some markers on the map so you can see their copper is here, iron is right here, and as I set up more semi-permanent builds, I will continue to do that because my base is going to be expanding. You can see I already put a little defensive wall up here, and I went with the spread out sections. I did notice that the biters don't try and damage these. They will try and go around them, and it does slow them down to the point where they're not attacking and they're getting hit by all kinds of things, especially my flamethrower turrets. And it's fixed the problem. They do next to no damage to that wall up there, which is exactly what I wanted. And it looks like we're primed, or well, we're set up, so let's start feeding it and see what happens. Oh, it would help if I put the modules in here. Started looking and I was going, wait a minute, that should be coming out a lot thicker than it is. So what's going on here? We should be achieving a full blue belts out here in just a moment, and it'll do that because of the productivity. And so every now and then there's a gap. So what we're going to need is an extra arm everywhere that it unloads. And that should fix that. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not the machine speed. The machine speed is just fine. It's the fact that we can't offload with a single inserter fast enough. And I know this up here looks horrid with the placement. It's all over the place. We're going to come up with a different power setup than medium poles. But that definitely fixed the problem. We are now outputting full belts, and it should be backing up. But now that we have the full amount going in, how does this run? It's not stopping at all. It's able to keep up with a single stack inserter feeding it and offloading it. So if we look down here though, what are we noticing? This is not a full belts output. So we're going to tack on some furnaces, and I thought I had a few in my inventory. I don't, so we are going to grab a blueprint. I don't want the that in there. I actually should not have grabbed the belt here either, because I'm going to need one on the other side as well. The only thing is for this one, it won't be getting hit by the modules, the beacons, at all. We may have to fix that. I don't know if that will be a huge problem or not. But what I'm hoping is with this last one tacked on, we will get the proper amount out. I also wonder if I could swap where this... No, because these won't be getting hit by a beacon. I'm trying to be nitpicky and make the most efficient setup. But what I will probably have to do is just place another beacon in here as soon as I find them. Right there they are. Hiding in plain sight. We can't go right there because that knocks those out of commission. And that's still within range. It's going to look a little weird, and this may not even be enough furnaces, so no worries there. But the problem with this is now I'm not going to be able to tell. This doesn't give me enough room to see if I am properly getting a blue belt output. We're close. still getting breaks every now and then. But let's let this run for just a second. So let's see. We're feeding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 furnaces. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 furnaces. So we're feeding 6 furnaces from the 1 blue belt's input. And that's not quite enough. So let's put a stop to this. I don't want it to get backed up like we were saying earlier. If these things start to build a buffer of internal inventory, it skews the results of our testing. And that's not what I want. I'm thinking what I probably want to do is put at least one more set of furnaces down here, and I think that might be the magic number. And then I'm curious about how I can balance the input lines, because we'll be feeding 6 furnaces from 1 full blue belt and 7 from another one. And it may be fine. We may be able to do that and there'll be no issues. But if there is, I'll be trying to figure out how I can get a last little bit off of this line and add it to this line without allowing too much throughput to where it bleeds this line. And I don't know, there could also be blueprints online that people have already figured this out for the mods that I'm playing around with. But part of the fun for me of this game is figuring this stuff out, using my brain, doing a little bit of math, and also just kind of watching and testing. I quite enjoy this. And I really need to, hold on, I need to request some of these furnaces so that I can do this by hand. This is going to start to become a problem before too much longer. Now what I don't need are any of those items. And then we will simply move our output to there. And we can slide this beacon down now and put one of those in. Now we just have to wait forever for the robots to bring these furnaces. We also need to set up our collection down here again. Let's actually put it right up against this in case I need to add yet another couple of furnaces to see what we get. Just waiting. Where are you at, robots? Is it you? It is you who are bringing my furnaces. Thank you, whoever left that comment on here about putting the robots, displaying them on the map. It's actually been very useful. I've been using it a lot to track where they are and figure out when things are going to get to me. I really appreciate that. And feel free, anybody else who sees something you think, hey, I know of a much better way to do that. I am always open to suggestions and would love to hear what you're thinking, how you do you go online and just grab Factorio prints and build off of that and feed it in, or do you play around and test things out and figure out what you like? Go ahead and go down to the comment section and let me know, how do you do it? And or what kind of tips and tricks might you have for me? I really appreciate that. And let's see, I've got a good feeling about this one. Once it gets rolling, I think this should be a full blue belt output. This should be 45 items a second of glass coming out of this setup. Then I also need to make sure that we're getting enough stone in. Can it be fed off of one blue belt, or do we start to get gaps after this runs for a while? It's moving and grooving. We should no longer see gaps in this. There's a couple. Okay, looks good. After this runs for a while, we should be okay. So now let's come down here and look. We're not starved anywhere. Looks like we're maintaining sand on the belt all the way down. And it looks like we've got a full blue belt output. Look at it flow. That's beautiful. 45 glass per second. Now that we know how it's done, we can set up a modular area that will produce us glass. And like I said, I'm probably going to want, honestly, probably 4 of these. I would love to have 4 of these setups if I can feed that much stone and that much sand into it. You know, I said that much stone. Looking at it, it's not even fully utilizing the blue belt of input. It stops every now and then, which is another thing I wanted to look at. And it looks good. That's perfect. That's great. This is a good stopping point for this episode. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more content like this. And I will see you all next time.